Aloha. There's a few things that I wanted to address in this video, so I don't really know how it's gonna go, but I'll just start off with the general idea and then kind of just go with it. Basically, I wanted to address stuff with the Mandela effect, our relationship with time, the effects of trauma on the individual, and how that is how that could be reflected in the experience of the collective consciousness, and how that same interaction or that same kind of energetic shockwave can be affecting our reality, and kind of relate it back to not only just 9/11, but the very fact that a good portion of the powerhouse that is part of this collective consciousness on the earth plane is has been at war for 214 or 222 years out of the last 235 years. So basically, for the last 2+ centuries, our consciousness, a big chunk of our consciousness, has been at war. This is coming from 1776 up until this time and space right now. So coming from the perspective of the United States, mainly because it's the amplification of the British colonial space, which is just an extension of the Roman control grid. It goes all the way back. So you can go further than that for the sake of just being able to focus on something to kind of address this point. I'm coming from a United States perspective because it can be amplified towards the Roman, like the age, the eons, you can just continue back in time and see like how this can be affected. Like if we're really understanding consciousness as we go, like even all these people who are gurus and so-called new age whatevers, we really don't understand consciousness. Like it's you really won't be able to. Like if you truly understood it, you'd be like into another realm. You'd pop yourself into another realm, because this is the energies that are here on this physical reality are meant to exist on a particular vibration in order for us to have this experience. If we were supposed to have a higher vibrational experience, then we would be in a dimension that would express that space. And these are the kind of the places that we go to in our dreams, which is another part of this, why our dreams are so alienated from our reality, and in fact replaced by the physical reality. And that relationship to fear itself, and that relationship to war, and also the challenges, like, because how I explain dreams is that in order to experience your dreams, you have to first process fear. This is why kids have nightmares all the time, is because they're still connected to their dreams, because they're brand new, they're fresh out of the gate here onto this earth plane, and they still have that connection to their allness. So when they go to sleep, they're not bombarded by the physical reality, and they have an understanding of the infinite more than the teenager or the adult who has locked themselves into the, whether it be the American dream reality or the physical reality, the university system reality, the public education system reality. Whatever it is, it consumes our mind, and it messes with our ideas of time, and also how the child has no concept of time really. They don't care. They're all about experience. So the child mind is not affected to the depths of to the depths of the same space that an adult is with time. A good example would be the alarm clock, waking up in the morning, and how that is a main point of separating you from your dreams, and how that just is one of the triggers there, because in order to remember your dreams, you have to be in a space, in a somewhat of a meditative space. When you're waking up, you have to wake up slowly. You have to slowly transition so you can recall those multiple layers of realities that you were just in before you woke up into this physical reality. So the clock itself, the alarm clock, is all part of it. The public education system, how the reality here is coded for us to experience, like the fear level of the norm within consciousness as a whole is not normal. It's not normal. We are completely out of whack when we realize that we've been at war for so long. And like this quote here from Eckhart Tolle: "I am not my thoughts, emotions, sense, perceptions, and experiences. I am not the content of my life. I am life. I am the space in which all things happen. I am consciousness. I am the now I am." So the opposite is actually the case for the norm of our physical reality. We are constantly bombarded with the ideas that we are our thoughts, we are our emotions. You have the news, the local news, the national news, the global news is all based upon the traumatic versions of our reality, and the negative spaces that we are convinced is human nature now, because we have been at war for so long, and the so-called powers that be, this is their human nature. This is what they have created, the so-called they have created as our reality. It's not. It's actually the post-traumatic stress reality that we have been like we fell into, kind of like the opposite version of falling in love. So when you fall in love, the same thing happens with time. Like you're outside of time, and there's a concept there too, because you can go even further than that. Like to fall. Well, let me stick on this one point. To fall in love, you have no concept of time. You are consumed by this infinite connection with an individual that is inexplainable. It is beyond anything that you have ever experienced before and can even put any words to. It is beyond anything that is quantifiable. It can last through people would even say generations. Like, I've known this person for however many generations. I've known this, we've been finding each other over timelines over and over and over again. And this goes into I'll address the falling part in a second, but this goes into something else I wanted to talk about earlier, was how this is my personal observation of how we are as souls, and how we are connected to our soul groups, and how our genetic codes are actually locked in with each other, like our families, our mothers, our mothers, our fathers, what actually the genetic code is translated into an experience. So we can understand that each time you have a child, and then that child has a child, and then that child has a child, each time that genetic code is shifting just as you are not the same cells that you were, you're getting stronger, you're getting smarter, you're getting wisdom. That is existing in the physical reality and in the ethers. So consciousness is ever expanding, and our soul experience in this physical reality is the slowed down version of what that ethereal space is, like, and always will be. It's just that that's the infinite space of it all, kind of just like an expanding cluster of stars, constantly ever expanding. So we as human beings in this physical reality manifest over and over and over again through generations, through these codes that we have anchored within this reality, as like doorways. So seeing our genetic code, our DNA, as a doorway to come into this space at a particular energetic time frame, a spiritual time frame, in order to influence the overall, like the etheric time frame, or the etheric energetic growth patterns from whatever it is that we are coded to do. Because everybody has a particular job. They have they play a particular instrument. They sing a particular way. They do a certain job. You have individuals who work with people. You have people who work with kids. You have people who work with nature, the elements. We all have our different codes, and this is where the soul groups come in, as far as like where you say like that person is like a spitting image of their grandpa or their grandmother or something like that, and we are just doing this over and over again. So this is actually like time travel is already happening. Just like a slowed down version of it is the soul going in and out of particular time frames through their genetic soul groups, and influencing time individually, on the soul level, and on the collective spirit level. So, and my personal I guess evidence of that is for myself, is just not like saying it's whatever evidence, it's just how I see and have seen and have heard, and other people have heard this too, like, you know, that when somebody has a child, they say, oh, that is grandma, that is grandpa. When they just have a baby, you just know, you have this feeling. That's an actual thing. Like, that is a thing that happens, and we act like it's not anything that is real, or we act like it's not anything that, because there is nothing around us that like in the university system, has locked in our reality as this is what it's about. It's about the Big Bang. It's about monkey evolution. It's about this and that. War. It's about these lower reptilian brain mentalities, lower chakra energies, these fallen energies instead of ascending energies. Or rising energies. So we are in this kind of like fallen mentality everywhere you look. Even when you say that you're in love with somebody, or that you found love, or that even then you're still falling. That's a fucking program. That's a problem. When you go into the energy of words, when you go into the energy of understanding our realities. And I wanted to do a video on like the on all kinds of like love itself, and that as an energy, and what that does when with time, and how the marriage program and the pop culture Hollywood version of our reality, what that does to time itself when we have shrunk it down to a vibration of distractive, commercial, just like instead of experiencing our reality based upon a rising in love, rising in consciousness, we experience it based on timing. Like, it has to happen on a certain time. We have all these rules and regulations on how life is supposed to be, sent down from a sick ass society, a cancerous, diseased society who has literally been at war with itself for over 200 centuries, or yeah, over 200 for over 2 centuries. 200 years, this program has been at war. Humans, the United States sponsored colonial system, having all of these military bases all over the place, claiming to be number one. In order to have to do all that shit, you have to build up this Kim Kardashian sort of ego, as you know, yeah, I'm the best, I'm the this and that whole sort of, only because you take a million pictures and it's all about the external version of your reality. That slows down time. So if in organically rising in love with another person is consciousness expansion. Falling in love with a person based upon the physical reality, based upon the marriage program, based upon these artificial versions of, oh well, this is who I think I am. That affects our time. That affects our genetic timelines, our codes. That affects our children. So that affects our grandchildren, that are our grandparents. Our grandparents' experiences that they did, and how they were working on whatever they were working on a soul level, and whether or not we have grown out of the same programs that they were subject to at a different timeline, and now experiencing it in relation to the control grid itself. Because this control grid is expanding. It is like frequency is going up and down, up and down. It's playing with us, with how we are experiencing our reality. So we see it as if, like the political scene, like when you give too much power to the scene, to the energy, to the movie reel, you actually manifest the movie that they are playing for you, because they have convinced you of your reality. And an example of that is separating you from your dreams, completely separating you from that healing space. Like when you go to sleep, that is a healing time frame. You sleep for a third of your life. So if you sleep for a third of your life and you dream during that entire time, and you have the ability to remember your dreams and get information from those dreams, dreams are also healing at the same time. So when we have these understandings of and misunderstandings of stuff like the Mandela effect, we are seeing it and interpreting it from this diseased reality. This out of balance reality. It's kind of like trying to understand consciousness from a toolbox, like a plumber's toolbox. Like, you can't fucking do that. Like, it's not possible to like get a toolbox from like a mechanic and explain consciousness. It's deeper than that. There's something more there. You need more perspectives. You need more tools. You need more whatever to do that. You know what I mean, as far as that. But basically, this is what our whole reality has been shrunk down to. We have been shrunk down into this monkey mind, this monkey mind, this Big Bang cosmic dust floating nothingness reality, and have been convinced that our owners of this slave system are responsible for giving us our reality. They have put themselves in front of us as God. They have made themselves to be the gods. Then when they can just kill people the way they do and be at war forever, and then we don't expand out of that level of consciousness, then we are nothing more than a pet. We are nothing more than an animal to this higher frequency being who has learned a way to control us. This is what's happening right now collectively, and it's not just because we are at war. It's everything. It's all of the above, down to the very psyche of the individual, the child mind, and the collective mind as a whole. So when we go into understanding how PTSD affects our experience as a whole, you can see that, for example purposes, as the exact opposite of what rising in love, because I don't fuck around with that falling program anymore. I won't say falling. The last person I fell in love with was the last time I will ever fall in love. Like, that shit will never happen again, because now I understand another version of what love really is. Like, it is beyond like that. You have to rise in love in order to have a spiritual love connection. That, like, there's a reality out there that exists outside of this generic ass certificate program they're calling the normalized human experience in whatever country you're in. Out here in the United States, it's like this whole graduate high school, go to college, get your job, get your girlfriend, have your degrees, have your kids, get married, have your kids, and then live your life, and then retire and die. That is a fucked up, that is a cardboard box ass reality, and people are trying to maintain that their infinite space of experiencing this reality from that generic ass program, and actually judging themselves based upon a cancerous system. So that exists not only on the physical reality, but on the psychological space, all the way up to the ethers. And when we do that to ourselves, that affects our dreams. When we are affecting our dreams like that, we are affecting our genetic codes. You send those codes down. Like I said in a previous video, these kids that are coming through vaginas to get here are not your kid. You didn't fucking make that kid. You are creating a gateway with your partner that is open to a soul space, an energetic vibration, where that child can come into this reality. And if you create an opening from a lower vibration, then you will set up an experience for, or a gateway for that child will have to process that energy in some sort of way. So this is actually affecting time. It's actually affecting consciousness. These fucking cartoons, these movies, the public education system, the university system, these are affecting our genetic codes, our doorways, the way souls come into this experience to experience consciousness. And if we don't expand our consciousness out of this sick and diseased system that has been bombarding our reality on a regular basis, with these where is it at? With these vibrations. Look, fear, flashbacks, cognitive stress, avoidance, distressing dreams. This is all the stuff that is affected by PTSD. And you can understand, which is my main basis for this video in relation to The ultimate space is a separation from your spirit. Another example of that would be the total fucking bogusness of NASA, which is a separation from your understanding of nature as a whole and your connection to the earth energy, the earth plane itself. If you can't even conceptualize where you are in this infinite space, then that is a separation. That is a separation program, period. That's like a big chunk out of your reality. And then when you are separated from your nature, institutionalized into normality, which this brain is, individually, psychologically, and collectively, and you are completely confused with the understandings of spirit and your expression of spirit and that whole everything. You are literally just like an energetic orphan, like just floating in the cosmos, just a piece, like literally, like they say, you're just stardust. So basically you're just like dead skin. That's what dust is. It's just mostly dead, like 80%. You're dead. You're a dead energy. And this goes back into now I'm bouncing between two different points that I wanted to talk, because I wanted to also address this whole zombie shit that's going on with these. Basically, this program right here with the PTSD is one way of turning you into a zombie. It's like a 40% version of a zombie. Like an active, like you're a functioning, that's the word, a functioning zombie. So basically, people who are locked into like American dream realities, and they made it, and they have no ideas of, and no connection to spirit, no connection to nature, no connection to whatever it is. That's, of course, their relationship with spirit and their genetic code and soul experience. At the same time, it is being manipulated. Like, you can observe it, you can have a perspective on what the fuck is going on individually and collectively. So you can say all day, oh well, that's their experience. At the same time, you can go up to somebody, just like I'm making this video, and just be like, hey, this shit exists, and hey, check this out. And then somebody else would be like, whoa, that's really crazy, in like the expansive way, expansion of consciousness. In order to get out of that dead space, you are actually shifting genetic codes. Like when people open up to me, like if I'm out somewhere and a woman opens up to me about like her shitty fucking relationship, and then I respond with however I would normally respond, like she's gonna take that shit and then go like she's gonna interpret that into her reality. Those are like nuggets, like cosmic gold diamond nuggets that we all do when we interact with people and help people out. They take that on to their next relationship. They will question their reality, question their relationship a bit more, and carry that on into their reality, which is in their code, and really send that it'll last forever, which is my point, which is everything lasts forever. So, and it's ongoing. Like this time shit is an illusion. This is why people say time doesn't exist. This time shit is an illusion when you understand that your genetic code, like your DNA, the everything that is in your from the spark of your heartbeat to your fingernail that you're gonna trim in like a week, and then it'll exist out there in the dirt somewhere. Like everything from that space, well, it lasts forever. Like this goes back to like energy lasting forever. So if you're, just like I was explaining, And I'm kind of all over the place right now, but bear with me. I'm gonna get somewhere with it. So when you are, if you can understand that, like I was talking about, somebody opened up to me about their relationship, and then they'll come back and be like, oh well, you know, I never thought about it like that. Like, that's a big fucking deal. Like, that will sometimes change people's lives. Whether it does, whether it's on the smallest scale or on the biggest scale. And it will affect their kids, and then their kids' kids, and then like that stuff lasts forever. So if that's the case, so that's one of those frequencies that exists outside of time, just like love does. You're having a loving moment with that individual. So that's that stuff that lasts forever. This bombarding of negative energies, or I don't really want to use the term negative energies, these bombarding of diseased energies, so basically like dead energies, are repeated in our reality on a regular basis, to convince us that this is what our nature is. So we are being constantly convinced that we are this animalistic, carnivorous mentality individual who has no connections to angels, no connections to the elements, no connections to any higher vibrations like the higher chakras, no connections to spirit, no connections to even love. Like, that's taboo. Like, if you talk too much about love, like in the patriarchal system, you're, something wrong with, hey, don't be talking that shit around me, get the fuck out of here with all that shit. Like, that whole mentality, that is a limitation, not only for the individual, but for the entire collective. So when we are out of balance for so long, we won't even be able to understand or interpret shit like the Mandela effect. We will totally block out even questioning our reality like the flat earth, and we will be open to completely accepting bullshit like the transhumanism agenda and all the shit that stems from that. Not to mention the new age bullshit that is constantly being put into our reality as this is how it is. A lot of that shit is empty. It's floaty, and most of it is real. Just like it's the same thing. So the new age it has the same effect on individuals as like the new age in quotation, like the orchestrated new age shit, like that whole empty, just floaty bullshit, like Western yoga in comparison to like the original yoga. You can see what I'm saying. So new age, like with the Western new age space, is like it's the same thing. It has the same effect on individuals like empty religion does. Like religions who are only about the money and controlling of people and institutionalizing the experience to create these dormant ass beings who vest all of their energy only into a particular version of experience. They don't go any further. They don't challenge themselves psychologically or spiritually to expand. It's a control grid. It's a box. So these various layers of boxes that are put in front of us, like this is an example that like the causes of PTSD: physical assault, sexual trauma, sexual assault, rape, sudden death of loved one, transportation, illness, injury, weapon assault, severe suffering, accidents, natural disasters. That's what you see on an everyday basis on the television, on the news, in the movies, in my spaghetti. Like that whole, it's in everything. It's in fucking everything. In your video games. That whole shit. It's all over the place. Like these things last forever. They last forever. So if we are in my spaghetti is a toy. Oh my goodness. So these things, basically what I'm getting to is that the stuff. So if we're attempting to understand the Mandela effect, then we have to understand time. We have to understand the like the quantum reality, but not only what quantum is, or that whole space, because that is also another box to that they will act, the so-called they will activate as like, this is, this is what it is, just like CERN is out there to conveniently be telling you that, this is our reality, and we have just created this giant machine that will smash these particles and create a tiny black hole, and maybe we can make a big black hole, and maybe some beings will come in. This is a fucking movie they're trying to make for you. This whole Stargate shit. All these movies are out there to make you believe that they have more power than the almighty energy that exists within your own heartbeat, within your own connection to the Most High. They're trying to make themselves out to be some kind of demigod. And they will scare the shit out of you and your experience on a regular day basis in order to convince you that in order to hold your vibrations down collectively and to allow these storylines to be presented to you by these magicians. So if you, just like a kid really believes in magic, you see what I'm saying? Like a kid, like a magician can go up to a kid and that kid will be like, whoa, oh my goodness. Like that affects that kid on a level that exists in the ethers, that it won't really shockwave as much into an adult, because an adult will be like, I can see that rabbit, I can see where you're pulling that from, I can see this, I can see that. So it doesn't affect them, like just like how fear affects people and not experiencing their reality, and love makes people feel their reality more. Like you have more energy. You're filling your space with more energy. So more connections create more energy, create more expansion, create more activations in your genetic codes, and that's in an individual space and on a collective space. So my point being with this whole thing in relation to PTSD and the collective consciousness and the Mandela effect is that with these timelines that are being adjusted in some kind of ways, and this residue that's leaking all over the place, is we are in one group of our consciousness. People are either falling in love with themselves by reconnecting themselves, and because this is part of the program, in order to be able to understand how to rise in love, you have to first fall in love, and then in order to understand that you and not just like in a relationship, I'm talking about in like consciousness itself, like fall in love with yourself. That's in a sense falling in love with the higher self, your spirit, your connection with spirit as a whole. First, in order to even get out of this shit, in order to even get out of, in order to get into that waiting room, you have to, because you're waiting on yourself to expand, and you can only do it like so much every day, based upon your group, like your time frame, how you're working with things. So anyway, so firstly, we are falling back in love with ourselves, because we are realizing what love really is. When we look at stuff, when people say, oh yeah, I never thought about a creative intelligence or a creator until I started looking into flat earth stuff, and then that at least opens the door for people. And then so that's one version, that's one opening, that's an energetic expansion that is now opening. Then you can go into connecting with the elements and nature and each other and so on and so on. It's instead of an implosion of death and destruction and post-traumatic stress realities, you are actually exploding into yourself, basically, but exploding into your higher self and expanding. So this is like the contraction space and the like the opposite. I can't think of the word of contraction, but expansion and contraction. We are opening up more. So you are opening up to an energetic space that is not normal, because what is is not normal in this disease reality. You are opening up to what is now natural. So to be open to what is natural is going to exist in another reality. It's going to exist in another. You're going to shift time, because now you are going back to natural time instead of being locked in to the artificial intelligence, the artificial reality, the artificial time grid, which is the Gregorian calendar, the clock itself, the alarm clock. Reconnecting with your dreams, reconnecting with your center space, reconnecting with spirit, reconnecting, making all these connections with yourself is sending a shockwave that is opposite of the disconnection grid, which is like the cosmetics of the human experience, where people are just worshiping titties and ass and, you know, makeup, and even having artificial asses, not at all being happy with who they are naturally. You have to adjust. That is adjusting to the artificial reality. So our artificial reality has been, or this artificial reality has been has such a grip on the organic human being that it has convinced individuals to completely destroy themselves physically and psychologically, that separates you from your genetic code soul grid experience. That is the organic space. This matrix control grid box reality is meant to compartmentalize your soul groups into pop culture normality, diseased normality, post-traumatic stress, slow vibrating categories. And this is why the public education system exists the way it is. This is why you are immediately, you have a number placed right on you with your social security number and your birth certificate number. They lock those birth certificates into the state vault, which you can never get a hold of your original birth certificate. This is an actual fucking thing. This is spirit magic. MAGICK. This is actual magic that they are using on your soul. This is why your baby's soul feet, the soles of their feet, are the only time that they actually lock you in, or that they get your prints, your codings. They lock it in their state vault, and it is like near impossible to get your original birth certificate, because once you get that birth certificate, you are literally pulling yourself out of the control grid spiritually, mentally, psychologically, and physically. That's one way to do it. You can break the code by realizing, like even me saying this right now, and then that exists for people who've never even heard of that, is one way to reconnect with yourself and realize that that shit exists. Like, you're clearing it as we go. But these are these little versions of reality that are from the smallest, the most minute details of our connections to ourselves to the deepest connections to nature and spirit as a whole, that are very well in the main thought process of the controllers, the so-called controllers. And they have created this system that has our psyches locked down into like this lower. And there were people in the comments section, I don't remember who it was, who were saying, this is hell. Look at how all the animals eat themselves, and the bugs eat themselves, birds eat. It's all about death. Everything is about death. And in one space I can see that. I was like, yeah, that's actually true. There's a lot of shit that circles around like death and destruction. And this is also what I was talking about as far as like the church program and the heaven on earth stuff, like this whole program, they want to keep you imbalanced instead of understanding what this stuff is. So how I personally see it, as far as like the whole heaven stuff and all that, the only real spark of heaven that we have in this physical reality exists inside each individual. Each individual heartbeat is like the closest spark that you can get to heaven. Like the way you perceive your reality is you're going to perceive it and experience it from either a hell vibration or a heaven vibration and everything in between. But the actual spark of heaven exists in the heartbeat, in that heart spark, and then until you transition into something else or somewhere else. But this reality, this physical reality, is actually opened up within our understandings of free will, in quotation marks. The darkest of the dark to the lightest of the light, like the most extremes of everything. Like when people can comprehend evil, and then people can comprehend good, and then like the whole that whole connections to devil and God, and that whole the whole energy there. But really, how I see it is about the separation grid, and these artificial demigods who have created this control grid, the fiat currency, maritime admiralty law system, has created this kind of happy slave reality that on the outskirts, it's making us lock into their versions of reality. This is what the university system and the scientism system is about, and locking us out of our maximum potential consciousness space that exists in harmonics with the understandings of our reality and the balances of our reality. Not only living in one side in like the new age version, oh, it's all love and light. That's the main program of the new age stuff, is to convince you of that energy. It's all about love and light. Like, no, you have to understand why things are the way they are from a different perspective. You can't just, that's a prescription drug. Love and light is just a prescription drug. If you don't understand fear and darkness, if you don't understand the balances of this entire reality, you're just creating another way to numb yourself to an entire half of this reality. And the only way that we'll be able to truly max out this space is if we go into questioning everything, questioning our reality until the obvious truth takes shape. And the whole thing with this CERN shit and it's too fucking convenient for me, like, to be like, this shit is too convenient that CERN just magically comes out there. It's too scientism based. It's too control grid based. It's too like the shifting of reality, of the Mandela effect, the potentials of understanding our reality from questioning stuff like the Mandela effect and seeing what it's all about can go so much deeper than anything that these quantum scientisms are going to come up with. They don't know anything that happened in Egypt. They don't know anything that was happening in Machu Picchu. They don't know about anything that was happening in Teotihuacan and with all the indigenous cultures. They can't understand this shit. So why the fuck are you listening to any of their shit that they're talking today? It's like a bully who beat up the teacher and kicked the teacher, like killed the teacher, and then like taped the teacher up and then put the teacher and then started teaching the class. That's what's happening right now. And this bully is saying, oh, we did this, and you're constantly keeping yourself in their boxes instead of challenging yourself to expand further into understanding the reality. It's beyond anything that any of these fucking scientists will ever be able to understand, because they are completely separated. This is why they do all of these dumbass, like, magic dances or ceremonies in order to convince you that they are on this spiritual plane doing spiritual shit. They have no fucking idea. They have no clue about that. Not to mention, we don't even have any clues, because we are unraveling what this is as we go and activating it as we go, because we've done this before. Like I said, like how you have kids who are actually like manifestations of your grandparents. Well, that shit goes all the way back to the Aztec Mayans, the Incas, the people at Machu Picchu, the Egyptians. Like, that shit doesn't stop. It keeps going further and further and further. We are constantly trying to learn who our original potentials are. We are ever expanding, and this ever contracting reality that we've been convinced in has actually locked us into the physical reality, as if this shit is first. This shit is not first. This shit is last. It's only first if you are based in a clock-based reality, in a physical clock-based reality. It's not first. What's first is our spirit, then our soul, then our mind, then our bodies. Like, these scientism assholes are only about the body at best, and they don't even understand like a small percentage of the body experience, like the human physical reality experience. Anything that they're talking about is going to be on a limitation period. So basically, and I didn't even really get to my main point about the whole like 9/11 stuff, which they're getting ready to roll out here pretty soon, because they're already like leaking shit here and there. But so basically, I already hinted on the falling program. So like, as we are expressions of our grandparents and our great 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 grandparents and those timelines in our genetic codes. And you can see this. You can see this when you can see your sisters and brothers who are exact replicas of your parents. Like, they are learning. This is what's happening. Your kids are learning and processing everything that you didn't learn and haven't processed in your reality, in your genetic codes, and everything that the other side of their soul connection has also chosen as their reality. But they are also, in some kind of way, whether it's the smallest percentage or the largest percentage, because those can vary, because there are some people who have no connections with their family, or seemingly have no connections with their family, their parents, but there is some relation there that we just haven't seen, because people have been locked into the physical reality versions of ourselves. So when we have kids who come here who have no connections to their parents, it's because their parents, in a majority of the time, have been locked into this post-traumatic stress disorder space, and have hold on a second. So these parents have locked in to the parents who have separated themselves from their soul group. They've locked into the PTSD reality. They've locked into their separation program experience, the normality, the artificial reality grid, the matrix reality, and have shifted their soul experience to another time frame, which is actually slowing down time, like etheric time. And so that's on the etheric space. like on the physical reality space, we see it as kids not being able to connect with their parents because they don't understand them. They don't have any connections with them because the them that they are not them. They're not who they actually are on the soul level. They are some artificial, Frito-Lay version, like some kind of genetically modified version of who they are, and they have no connections with their soul groups, their children, their parents, or their grandparents. And that is what the separation program does. It individualizes you, it separates you, it compartmentalizes you in psychologically and in your family and your culture. It compartmentalizes everything. And this is what this is another version of what the white supremacy program does too, how it just steals everything. It just steals, like the modern pop culture today, it just steals everything from every other culture and then amplifies it as if they did it. Just like the inventions and everything has already been invented by people all over the world. The only thing that was invented by the white supremacy program was the patent office in order to create this version of their control grid. And I didn't come out. I read that somewhere else. That somebody else actually said that patent office quote. I don't remember who it was, but that's exactly the point. Is to hoard this energy and collect it into this space, just like they did with that's what the colonial program is, and the Crusades and all that shit. It just went around, destroyed everybody's connection to themselves, installed the church grid, installed all these religions, installed these fear programs, installed sickness and disease, installed an artificial version of culture, installed the patriarchal system, installed these dirty programs, like the dirt program of looking down on women and looking down on melanated people, and that whole program, it affects time as a whole, and it affects our soul time. So if you can affect the individual and you can affect the family and you can affect the culture, you are affecting the soul time, the spiritual time of the entire collective consciousness. And big things happen, like big shifts happen, and this connects with all the random number generators stuff, like there was a big shift during 9/11. So the random number generator stuff, look it up. It's a big thing in relation to like consciousness, and it's kind of like the double slit experiment stuff. But that is an example, kind of like the Mandela effect, of something like within the consciousness that we can't explain. Like there's a shift in energies that kind of like the 100th monkey, and like monkeys on another island cleaning off sand from the coconuts, and then at the 100th monkey, like monkeys on another island somewhere, finally realize that they can clean off sand by putting the coconuts in the water, and that whole thing, like that's like a whole thing that exists with not just the human consciousness, but species as a whole. And you can understand that even with just seeing that you have a connection with the earth plane as a whole, like nature, the harmonics of nature. It's not just a mistake. Like it's not just a mistake that you exhale CO2 and the trees inhale CO2 and exhale oxygen. Like that's not a fucking mistake. There's a creative intelligence there that exists, that was, thought up by the Most High Spirit, and was just like, oh, this is some cool shit. It didn't happen by a mistake. Like it didn't happen by some fucking meteor crashing into a ball of earth and just spitting out salt water and fresh water all over, and now we got rivers in the oceans. This is the most fucking asinine ass ideas of this reality as a whole. But that's mainstream. That's normal shit in this scientism shit, basically. Anyway, back to the point of how these lower vibrations affect our consciousness as a whole, affect time, and affect stuff like our experiences, and how we are related to that on like the generations. So to narrow it down and get back to something that, like I said in the beginning, this is going to be all over the place. To narrow it down to the last like 240 whatever years, we've been at war in the United States, pretty much with the rest of the world. That has an effect, like the random number generator and that shift in the random number generator on 9/11. The instead of a big jump or a big shift like it happened on 9/11, the fact that you're at war has an effect on the entire consciousness that has an effect on time, that has an effect on the individual, that has an effect on your soul experience, and it anchors you more into the reality that has been presented to you on a regular basis. Our regular basis has been locked in to a diseased version of the root chakra, the survival mentality, a diseased version of the sacral chakra, the sexual, the creative energies that are bombarded by this artificial versions of relationships, artificial versions of connections, and the fucked up ways that we treat each other and bring new souls into this reality. It affects time. It affects the entire consciousness as a whole. And how I'm seeing the split right now within timelines is that people are reconnecting with nature and reconnecting with the rising in consciousness, the rising in love, which is the rising in understanding of light and dark, not falling in love, which is the Love and Light New Age program, or falling in fear, which is the political, physical reality, CERN shit, NASA, SpaceX bullshit. That's you can either fall in love or you can fall in fear. That is still within the control grid fucking program. So we fall in love based upon these hyper supersonic energies that just, are based upon like this shallow ass versions of what we think we want, what we think we like, what we think we are. Then we do all these things that are supposed to be expressions of what it means to be falling in love with all this like this is why, and these energies are amping up so much. This is why you have all of these online dating things, and they have to compensate for people who are activating these lower chakras on a deeper level. Like, it's happening. So it's being co-opted. Like, our root chakra is being co-opted by the fear program. Our sacral chakra is being co-opted by social media and the constant bombardment of this shallow ass materialistic version of the human nature and the human design. Our solar plexus is being shut down. Our willpower is being shut down by this whole new world order political version of our reality bullshit. And we have the choice to either fall further into the orchestrated versions of the normal program, which is the orchestrated new age, which is to fall in love with the artificial version of understanding this consciousness as a whole, or at least opening up to understanding these shifts and these connections, nature as a whole. To fall in love is to fall in half of your reality. So it's actually a quarter of your reality, because when you rise in love, or at least open up the door to rising in love, you're opening up the door to understanding love on a rising space, and understanding which is the understanding and overstanding of light and dark, which is in a deeper layer of love. Like, to fall in love is just a quarter version of reality. It's like a quarter, like a gas tank being a quarter of a tank full. You'll get to where you gotta go, but you gotta keep filling it up. If that's the fall in love gas tank. that's a pretty good as analogy or metaphor or whatever that is. But yeah, that's basically what it is. It's like falling in love is like only utilizing a quarter of your gas tank of loving reality. And you have to keep going to the gas station and refilling it with all these normal ass so-called normal versions of your loving reality. And it's a constant process, which you don't really need to do, because that love, it already exists. It's infinite. If you reconnect with yourself in the rising program, in the rising space of your partner, instead of the fairy tale fucking versions of the falling in love program, which the movie, the dramatic versions of our reality constantly amplify on a regular basis, with all the romance novels and the drama movies and the commercials and the social media, all that shit. It just keeps you in the boxed version of what it's all about. It's only about the diamonds. It's only about marriage. It's only about having kids. It's only about being successful. It's only about that feeling that you have in your heart. That feeling is actually filling your quarter tank gas tank of love up, and you can live your entire experience about that. It is love. It is real love. That is real shit. At the same time, there is something on a deeper layer that exists, that you will rise with your partner if you start in a space of falling in love. Only if you challenge yourself and your partner challenges his or herself, and then you guys challenge each other on a harmonic space to rise together in an understanding of both the light and the dark spaces of what love is, outside of the fear programs and the box programs of this whole orchestrated version of experiencing our reality. To do that is to expand time, to exist outside of time, to relate outside of time, to activate your experience outside of time. This is why time flies when you're having fun. Time flies when you're when you're in love, when you're with your partner, and why time slows down when you're at work. And time slows down when you're staring at the clock, because you are convincing yourself of your reality. This is why this shit happens. And why time doesn't even really seem to exist when you go to sleep. You just go to sleep and wake up, and like there's no concept of time there. But you can have a memory of that will take 3 hours to explain 4 sections of dreams that you just experienced in that 8-hour time span, which is basically only the latter part of that whole dream space. So that's another example of how time doesn't exist, is dream space. And I can go on and on and on about that, but basically I just wanted to relate in this video, because I'm going to end it now because I know it's gone pretty far. Basically, shit like 9/11 and the program of post-traumatic stress itself not only affects the individual, but it affects the entire collective. And it not only affects us on our physical reality, but it affects us in the ethers. It affects us in how we experience time, and it affects us in how our memory works. This is what I was talking about, and why I brought this up is that people are having difficulties with the Mandela effect because they already have difficulties with their memory being anchored in a post-traumatic stress reality, to where they question their own memory, to where they have to Google everything. They basically have a GPS brain now instead of an actual understanding of who, what, and where they are. All of our power, all of our natural connections have been co-opted by an artificial intelligence, the technological version of our reality. This is why the transhumanism program is amping up so much and really coming into a reality and saying, look, this is your choice, this is your split. Are you going to believe everything that we've created for you, which is the merging of technology and humanity as your next evolutionary step? Or are you going to challenge yourself to expand outside of the level of consciousness that created this whole bullshit as 200-year, 10% version at best of experiencing your human reality? Are you going to get outside of that space and reconnect with the indigenous people, the activate the spaces outside of control, the orchestrated control grid? You're going to challenge yourself to move outside of that and see who you really are, what your real genetic soul experience is about. And in order to do that, you have to face everything that your experience that has been a part of your experience. So this goes into understanding the depths of your family relationships. This goes into the depths of experience, going through your traumatic experiences, expanding outside of that space. This goes into understanding the collective traumatic events like 9/11 and the fact that these motherfuckers who are still so-called in charge of shit are still like talking about the presidency and all that stuff, knowing that 9/11 was orchestrated, knowing that all of these wars, many people know that like the Gulf of Tonkin, all that stuff from Vietnam, even from Vietnam all the way down, people already are very aware of the fact that that shit was all orchestrated. It was like made to happen, a war in a box. And then all the other things were also the same way, with having Bush involved with like the oil with Hitler and all that shit, and all the other World War, all this other stuff. From the stealing of the land itself from the Native Americans, the smallpox blankets, the colonial program. This goes, and this is why I speak on the white supremacy program, because it's ingrained heavily within the colonial program, which is ingrained within our relationship to consciousness itself, which is ingrained within how we understand this earth plane and our connections to spirit or the most higher and those planes of existence as a whole. We've been co-opted, or we've been convinced that everything is about the university system. It's not. It's not. It's that amplification grid has only been out there to hide the fact that this right here, all these wars, are what they call normal. This is what the so-called they consider to be normal. We're still in this so-called normal environment. We are existing. The so-called powers that be are experiencing are orchestrating a reality that is in the lower percentiles of the root chakra. We're not even allowed to we're not even allowed to know what those connections with nature are. Like when we believe in the globe model, we shut down our root chakra pretty much. When you believe, when you're completely materialistic and stuck in your ego, you shut down And in the patriarchal system, you shut down your sacral chakra, because those are your balances, your sexual connections, your entire connections with the creative energies of your creator spirit, bringing another soul in here, understanding your soul connections through all of those energies. When you are in that bombarded space, then you are shutting down that amplification. When you are a slave, the birth certificate program, the maritime admiralty law system, that shuts down your willpower, your solar plexus. And if you have all of those energy, your fire, that's what the solar plexus is. This is why they're talking about all this. We're just one. This generic ass uniting shit. We're just one. Everybody needs to stop fighting the system and all this other stuff. Just listen to your controllers. Just be a good slave and don't rock the boat. That shuts down your solar plexus. And if you have your entire lower bodies, your entire physical reality shut down, then you will not have access to your heart chakra. It'll be sick and diseased. And this goes back to what I referenced earlier about somebody in the comments section saying this is hell. We're in hell. Everything kills itself, and yeah, okay, I can see that. And but there's more to this reality that if you can explain that and people can believe that, then you have to understand that there's a balance to that. And an obvious balance to that is the spark of how I see it.